Good evening, and thank you to all the brave souls who decided to stick it around and stay inside here for the last talk. My name is Madhusudan Peshwa. I'm the Chief Executive Officer of MKC Biotherapeutics. Our business model is to in-license assets that are commercially approved ex-US. So we're basically arbitraging efficacy risk in cell and gene therapy by taking on execution risk of bringing these products to patients in US and Europe. The first platform we've licensed is an allogeneic pooled donor bone marrow-derived mesenchymal stromal cells that's been commercially approved in 3 different indications, a 4th one being BLA filed in India. It's a platform, but we're solely focused on knee osteoarthritis as our lead indication. Based on the quality of the efficacy data that has been observed in more than many hundreds of patients being treated, it has been demonstrated to lead to more than 70% durable pain reduction with a single treatment over 2 years of follow-up, along with observations based on morphometry and MRI imaging, showing that the quality of the cartilage is significantly improved, demonstrating the ability to have potentially disease-modifying therapeutic benefit. The commercial opportunity is huge. There is 20 million plus patients in the US, and we see that leading to a significant, consistent blockbuster opportunity. Our CMC advantage comes from the licensed IP, which allows us, with a limited number of donors, to make many million drug product lots. We have essentially, with 3 donors and the GMP banks that have already been manufactured, locked in a supply chain to be able to treat more than 25 million patients. And the team that we put together has worked together. This is the 3rd rodeo for a lot of us who've come together. We've had over 40 INDs amongst ourselves and over close to 20 product approvals worldwide. And we're supported by global operators who run and build successful global businesses. To date, we have raised $10 million. That gives us a cash runway to file an IND middle of next year to initiate late-stage phase 2B, phase 3 clinical trials. We're out doing a soft outreach right now to identify potential investors to raise $60 million. That'll provide us a runway to complete the phase 2B trials and the phase 3 trials to be in a position to start putting our BLA together. So the advantage of arbitraging existing commercially manufactured product comes in from the perspective of significantly shorter timelines to get to BLA and log order magnitude less investment needed to get to the BLA. With the 60 million, we will be having milestones of efficacy readout from the phase 2B, as well as that guiding the sizing and the attributes of our phase 3 trial for purposes of BLA filing. We also intend to expand, once we have efficacy data, into adjacent indications in terms of osteoarthritis in other joints and other musculoskeletal disease, because we would have then had significant risk reduction in terms of our product, our US patient population, and these become sort of no-brainers from that perspective. We're anticipating readiness to start putting together our BLA by the end of 2030 timeframe. We are cell therapy, but we're not cell therapy. What do I mean by that? We get put in the bucket of cell therapy that has a lot of baggage. So, as I talked about, we have our supply chain locked in. With the GMP banks we have, and a locked-in process to manufacture the drug product that we're going to take into a pre-IND end of this year, we essentially know we can make the product at scale for commercial purposes. We're allogeneic, cryopreserved, off-the-shelf, derived from healthy, qualified, regulatory compliant donors who are supported by a US FDA master file. We've optimized for potency and function based on the clinical outcomes that we have seen in trials ex-USA, and we know what our potency markers are. It's robust, scalable manufacturing, as we talked about. Our current cost of goods today is between $2,000 and $2,500 per patient. We anticipate with commercial scale, we will be bringing down our cost of goods 4 to 5-fold to under $750 per patient. And this gives us an opportunity to actually start thinking about cell therapy as a commercial business with small molecule-like margins as we go forward. We're working with MSCs. There's a lot of history with MSCs, but it is validated from a scientific perspective. There's over 1,800 clinical trials that have happened worldwide. We understand the mechanism of action is via immunomodulation, creating a regenerative niche that promotes regeneration of lost or damaged tissues to be able to actually have disease-modifying benefits. In the US, the first MSC product was approved in December, Ryoncil from Mesoblast. Ex-US, there is 15 other MSC products that are commercially approved for a variety of disease indications, including knee osteoarthritis. In the US specifically, the commercial aspects are being validated. Mesoblast is charging about $190,000 per infusion, up to 8 infusions per patient. But this is in the context of pediatric acute steroid refractory graft-versus-host disease. So really the pricing is going to be determined by the value that the therapy brings. And so one has to kind of think about what the valuation is. But the reason I bring this up is they just recently announced that they've gotten a J-code and they are being reimbursed with a successful launch going forward. So the commercial aspects of use of MSCs are validated. Specific to NeoA, if you track how disease progresses, once patients are detected, they take over-the-counter painkillers to manage the pain with the disease. Then they advance to a stage where OTC products have not much of an impact, and then they get prescribed with either injections of hyaluronic acid or intra-articular injections of corticosteroids. These lead to transient benefit, maybe 20, 30% pain reduction that persists for 3 months, and the disease continues to progress. And then you reach this huge chasm where there is no approved therapies. And a patient goes through this chasm with deteriorating disease, increasing challenges for maybe 10, 15 years before they could become eligible to receive a total knee replacement. So there's a huge unmet need in how disease progresses and the patient's journey with the disease, and we want to position our products from that perspective. As I mentioned, I will walk through some of the clinical data, but the mechanism of action, which is validated by the clinical data, shows we control the inflammation in the disease area of the knee and then regenerate the potential. So if you think about it, if you measure markers of inflammation, you should see an impact. And if you measure markers of cartilage degradation or regeneration, you should see an impact. Our target product profile is as a single treatment administered on an outpatient basis in a matter of minutes, no post-administration support or therapy being needed. Clinical data to date indicates pain relief of more than 70% reduction, durable over 2 years, and functional benefits thereof, along with disease modification abilities. CMS, in fall of last year, came out with guidance document and a white paper suggesting, independent of what the FDA needs, what should one consider as requirements to bring disease-modifying therapies. And we're taking our learning from the CMS guidelines because we're not just targeting getting FDA approval, but we want to build a successful commercial enterprise. It's a very busy slide. It says exactly what I said. This is all published information. It walks through the primary, the secondary endpoints, and the exploratory biomarker studies. Primary endpoint shows 70% reduction in pain, multiple secondary endpoints looking at stiffness, function, and VAS score, as well as MRI-based imaging, assessing cartilage quality and morphometry, and exploratory endpoints looking at correlative biomarker studies demonstrating the hypothesized mechanism of action. So patients received in the treatment group in red received cells plus hyaluronic acid, which is a standard of care in this particular chasm. Placebo patients received just a solution and hyaluronic acid shown in blue. What you see is the effect of hyaluronic acid for the first 3 months, about 20% reduction in pain. Then control group patients, the pain comes back. And 2 years out, the amount of pain is more than what it was at the time they were registered. Patients in the treatment group, continuing reduction of pain. We haven't hit the plateau yet. We don't know how far beyond 2 years the benefit is going to persist. This is remarkable given that all other products have been approved for pain reduction in the 20-30% range. I'm not an MRI expert, but I picked 2 classic examples. The patient in the treatment group had very advanced disease based on MRI imaging and T2 relaxation time. And what one shows, based on the data, is comparing the pre to the 2-year MRI, there was significant reduction in T2 relaxation time for a patient who got randomized to the treatment group at very advanced level of disease. The patient in the control arm had borderline disease based on T2 relaxation time, but continued to worsen in the quality of the cartilage. And if you look collectively across the board, what you see is patients in the control group, shown in the blue bars, in the bar graph, continue to worsen, whereas patients in the treatment group continue to improve. And this is coupled with showing we can rebalance the inflammatory environment in the knee, which is the hypothesized mechanism of action. And if you measure a product called CTX2, which is a degradation product of cartilage, so whenever cartilage gets destroyed, you can measure this degradation product in the urine, it shows that there is significant reduction in the amount of CTX2 detected in urine for the treated patients. These are large market opportunities. And we've done a lot of analysis in terms of being very conservative as to what is going to be our addressable market and our obtainable market. With 32 plus million patients being available, we're forecasting our objective market is about 200 patients a year, which is less than 0.5% of the prevalence rate. We're also projecting, just for hypothesis, if we charge $15,000 per patient for treatment. Given the benefit size that we see, it is a $2 billion plus annual revenue opportunity. So cell therapy doesn't have to be a $500,000 price tag. There's a unique commercial opportunity therein. We've taken the data to an initial preliminary assessment from physicians and payers, and we've gotten strong positive feedback about the therapeutic index we have seen, the fact that the durability that we have seen has not yet plateaued even at 2 years, and we have received a lot of feedback in terms of how we should be thinking about the value proposition and pricing of the therapy. The $15,000 comes from the perspective that there's a product called Zilretta, 7 years since approval, on the market, sells about $120 million a year. Per patient cost is about $1,000, benefit lasts for 3 months. So if you say over 2 years, you would need to have 8 treatments, that's $8,000. And for the amount of benefit we're seeing, we said, well, $15,000 seems like a reasonable starting point. And that's how we came up with that $15,000 number. As we generate more data, we'll have to go back and think about, is that the right number? We've designed a phase 2B study. It's going in as part of the pre-IND package. It's about 150 plus minus patients, and we will get to definitive efficacy to help guide what our phase 3 strategy is going to be. Upcoming milestones for which we already have funding in the bank, a pre-IND end of this year to get a green light on our CMC aspects and our potency assay, and then leading to an IND submission next year. But we're out raising money, our Series A of $60 million, to help fund the clinical studies. And the use of proceeds is really going to be based on about $25 million of it going towards getting the phase 2 trials completed, having the efficacy data from phase 2, and thinking about sort of adjacency that we want to expand into, $35 million going into the pivotal trial design, and $5 million in continuing to support building out of the pipeline and the operations of the company. So we're a platform, but we're solely focused on a single indication right now. But not to miss out on the fact that as we validate that and show we can actually walk the walk, there is unique opportunities for us to expand and build out a product pipeline and multiple partnering opportunities thereof. And so my last slide, essentially, hopefully I've summarized for you. We're first in class, best in class from a disease-modifying perspective. We have clinical data validating it and commercial approval ex-US. We have de-risked the CMC, which is a big challenge. We have consistent blockbuster opportunities, seasoned leadership team driving this, and multiple opportunities to build out a more robust, expandable product pipeline. So thank you all for your attention. I'm delighted to take any questions. There's nothing after this, so I'll hang around at the back of the room. Thank you.
Thank you very much. This concludes our presentations for today. Enjoy the rest of your evening here at Meeting on the Mesa, and we'll see you tomorrow.